What do we do and what should we do when we make a mistake? All of us do it. I'm talking sleeping in late, drinking loads, doing too much nicotine, too many snuffs or cigarettes on a night out, drinking too much, drugs, whatever your vices are. What do you do with yourself when you come on the other side of that? When all of that monkey shit's over and you actually feel the disappointment starts to creep in. The worst is when you have things planned and you don't actually do what you say you're going to do. That's the worst type of disappointment that you will feel. So, just yesterday, I was going to get up at 7 a.m. I got up at 12:30. And the reason I got up at 12:30 was because my alarm didn't go off. And I was in my bed, and I'm a bit of a sleepyhead, right? So I'm in my bed, and I know my alarm's not gone off. I don't know what time it is, in all fairness. I thought it was around 10 o'clock. But instead of getting up and facing that pain in my half asleep, half awake state, I stayed in bed, and I did that for hours. Because I thought, oh, you know, it's going to be the same amount of pain if I get up or if I stay in bed now, so I'm just going to enjoy the time I have in bed. And obviously that's going to create a lot of disappointment within myself when I actually do get up. And yes, it is entirely stupid. So the first inclination and the first response to that is to be pissed off at yourself. It is, it's to be disappointed. It's to look in the mirror and think you're a fucking idiot. And the thing is, when you do that at the start of your day, you are pitching that identity onto yourself. And a lot of us are hopeless in that state of vibration. For some, and sometimes, it can push us forward, it can really give us that fire we need, but when we haven't got a lot of energy in the first place, it's just going to drag you down. It's going to make you perform worse. So what do you actually do instead of that? Now it's the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. And that's to show yourself extreme love in these situations and circumstances. And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is because when you were born, you were given a task. You have two parts of your mind. You can call it the subconscious and the conscious. I look at it in a bit of a different way. And if you are going to follow me on this channel, you will start to understand the things that I believe and the things that I've been taught by entities, gods, and my higher self, to be honest. So I have, yes, like I said, we all have two parts of our brain, if not more. With men, I think it's a little bit more. With women, I think it's two on a larger spectrum. Anyway, besides the point, we have these two parts of our brain, and one of them is going to be looking after the stupid little retard that's in our brain, wanting to scroll, wanting all the nicotine, wanting to look at this, that, just to feel comfortable and just to feel, warm and fuzzy inside. There's a lot more to it than that, but you do have that part of you in your brain that wants to do all the mischievous things. A lot of us have it more than others. And you have to show this part of you so much love, because you are tasked to look after it. You are tasked to make it happy, and a lot of us find that fuel to move forward with encouragement, and you can give that to yourself. Now it's going to take you to break a lot of the barriers within your own consciousness to actually be able to do that. But ultimately, if you achieve that vibration of self-love, you will crack your day. You will conquer your day. You will turn that 12:30 wake up, just like I did, into an absolute win. And instead of striking your momentum down, instead of getting obsessed with your streak of success and absolutely thinking, oh, I failed now, so it's the be-all and end-all, the end of the world. You just look at it like, you were a little fuck last night, weren't you? Or this morning. You were a little shit, but I love you, and it's fine. Just think about your mistake, learn from it. Just speak to yourself in a soft voice, because a lot of us we are just children. We're just spastics. I know you shouldn't use that word, I didn't really give a fuck, to be honest. So a lot of us are just children inside in our hearts. And we have this adult version of ourselves that needs to protect that. I mean, if you had a child, it's a very similar scenario that you're in. Even though you don't have a physical external child, within you, you have your inner child. It's always going to be with you. Even when you're 80 years old, I bet you it's still there. I wouldn't know, but I bet you it carries on. I bet you it's still there. You are going to have to look after that. You're going to have to protect it. And when you do make a mistake, you look at it as if it was your own child. If you had a child and you knew he said to himself, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 8 a.m. and you walk in at 12:30 and he's still in bed. This is just one example. But think of it as a metaphor. Apply it to what your vices are, what are the mistakes you make and what makes you feel like shit as a person. Apply it to that. Because the truth is, when you do the things that you say you're going to do, you become a confident person. You become someone who's proud of himself. And that echoes out towards your entire life. Not just people's perception of you, but the universe will start to reflect that back to you. It starts to give you the things that you want. So when you do find a pitfall, when you do step into a hole that you weren't supposed to step in, and you want to be mad at yourself, you're going to not end, but you're going to disturb that vibration of love. Instead, you have to flip it on its head. You have to say, even though I made this mistake, I still love you. I still have respect for you. I still know your potential. And I still know that you can love yourself and look at this as a situation to learn from. So before we go to bed next time, we think, let's make sure our alarm's turned on. And we don't let it affect our day. We still think, what's some quick wins I can get in to get back into that momentum? Because the more you procrastinate, or the more you feel that disappointment in yourself, the more you're going to procrastinate on the things you were supposed to do anyway. So there's no point in doing it, you know? Keep yourself accountable, but do it out of love, not out of anger. You should very rarely be angry at yourself in this life, you know? Very rarely. You should be sometimes. When you've made a grave mistake, you need to show anger for yourself. But if you are in a repetition, in a cycle of doing that, you're going to make things so much harder for yourself than they need to be. And you don't need to do that. I did it for so long. It destroyed me inside, in days, you know? And you've got to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of us would have felt the seed of potential from a higher plane, and we would have felt like we literally feel like God. I felt like God before. I felt so powerful, so omnipotent, so aware. But we have to remember, within our flesh, within all of this, we do have that little monkey brain. We are just little monkeys. At the end of the day, you're a human. You're a human, and you're going to make mistakes. So learn to deal with that, and learn to process it as it comes. Because if you don't do it right, you will just put yourself in the vibration of self-hate. And even though you don't feel like you're hating yourself, you're doing it out of love, over a consistent basis, if you are harsh on yourself, working yourself with whip and chain, then you are going to start to rebel. The little child in you is going to start to rebel against the part of your consciousness that's actually has the seat and guiding it forward. You have to learn to allow those two parts of your brain, however you want to picture that. I picture it in a much more of a spiritual sense, but let's just call it for now. This is my first video, and I haven't really got into any of that. So let's just call it the subconscious and the conscious mind. You have to allow them to get on. You have to find that middle ground, that balance between. Only then are you going to start to manage yourself, control yourself, and therefore control your life, which is what all of us men need to do. We need to take a hold of ourselves, all of our emotions, right? All of our feelings, take a hold of it, look at it logically, and move forward. And in this situation of making a mistake, the only logical step is love. You need to love yourself. And you will feel like you don't. You'll feel like that's the wrong thing to do. But if you can forgive yourself, you will be so much more powerful at the other end of it. Because I forgave myself. You know, it took me half an hour or so, but I forgave myself. Because I did my morning routine, even though it was 1 o'clock. I did my morning routine I was supposed to do at 7 o'clock. And then I got into some work. I had a bit more, a bit more ups and downs throughout the day. But at the end of it, I wrote in my journal and I realised I learned a very valid and a very important lesson. And today, I got up at 7. And I felt better. Now, if I probably would have got up at 7 anyway, even if I went down the other path of being angry at myself. But I would have woke up in a grump. You know, that part of me within is going to be grumpy and angry because it's seen as a little shit. You don't want to look at yourself as a little shit. Or that part of you, at least, as a little shit. Just say, oh, you were a bit of a prick, or whatever you want to use. You're a bit of an idiot. But I love you, and it's fine, and let's go. That's it. Carry yourself on your back. Be proud of that little monkey within you. Look after it, because at the end of the day, whatever your philosophy is on the purpose of life, you have to agree that a very high percentage of that purpose of you living now is to look after that identity, that name, and that little ego that was given to you at the start of this journey. When you were just 0 years old. You were probably there thinking, or maybe not thinking, but I believe so. However, you were there, and the reality is that over the next 80 years, you are tasked in looking after this little human being. Whatever you feel like you are. So when you do make a mistake, do not be so harsh on yourself, because that is powerless. The power comes in positivity, and a lot of the time us men, and it took me a very long time to realize, but a lot of the time that positivity, it doesn't feel like the power. It feels like, you know, the girly thing, maybe not even just girly, just childlike, to be all happy and positive. But I'm telling you, just to say let's fucking do this, just to be your own best friend, you know, that's going to give you the power you need to fuel yourself to the higher levels of consciousness that is actually going to allow you to achieve the things that you need to achieve. The thing is, if you have a separation between those kind of goals and the lower part of yourself and try to hide this away, what you will find is a disconnect within yourself, and you will start to find pain in between that disconnect. I've done that. It doesn't work. Just allow it all to come into balance. Allow the little part of you, the little child that wants to enjoy itself, respect the part that wants to achieve, and allow the part that wants to achieve, respect the fact that this little part wants to enjoy itself, and then find the balance, and speak to each other, speak to these two parts of your consciousness, have a conversation, and actually make an agreement with each other. And with that agreement, just like in a relationship, just like I found with my girlfriend, you know, you find those answers, and you find those middle grounds and those points. Alright, so that's my first YouTube video done. I just whacked on the camera and started speaking about something that I've experienced today and yesterday, so I'm going to do this every day from now on. Isn't too hard, didn't take too long, 14 minutes, probably a bit less for you because I procrastinated for about 2 minutes when I started recording, so yeah, pretty easy. Just going to post it, see what comes out of it, because I'm actually passionate about doing this, even though I don't know how many views it's going to get, no idea. So yeah, I'll be here every day. Hopefully I stick to my word on that. I trust myself too. It is important for me. So yeah, I'll see you every day. If you're here early, I really appreciate you, and I'd like to see you watch me grow. So yeah, I love you, brother, and we'll speak soon.